How about some flowers? Welcome back to a new Hints and Theories video. My name is Julia and together we will talk about all the suspicious things that happened in episode number 3 today. If you want to support me, then please subscribe to this channel here, and you can of course also follow me on Instagram. Now let's jump right into it, into task number 1. This time the candidates had to sing karaoke and had to figure out some words by doing that. And a few suspicious things happened in this assignment. Let's start off strong with Bridget. And as always when it comes to Bridget and her actions, I'm left behind a bit confused. Because she still does give me strong candidate vibes, strong candidate energy, but in the end she does so many random suspicious things. Like in this task, for example, she chose a song by her ex-boyfriend or ex-man, ex-partner, and with that it was really easy to lead the candidates into a false direction, which in the end led to, well, the fact that they did not guess the correct word and no money was earned for that song. So yeah, Bridget is still, well, I still have the feeling she's a candidate, but she still does some really weird actions. And the question is, if she's a candidate, does she do those suspicious things on purpose or not? Like, does she want to appear suspicious, or is it just a Bridget thing? Like, is she just like that? I don't know that. But let me know what you think about her. Then somebody else who did not earn any money for the part with his song was Sam, who simply did too many gestures with his hands, which then led to the correct word, but Rick said they wouldn't count this song as, well, correctly because he just, made too many gestures and with that broke the rules of the game. This leads us to Sophie, and I do think she owes all the big Queen fans a huge apology. Somebody to lamp? Okay. I think this will go down in the history lane of Mol and will come back a few times, maybe in the upcoming seasons, or let's say at least when there's a recap or something like that. Anyway, she changed the word of the song and she also did too many gestures with her hands, like she really pointed at the lamps on the ceiling, and that of course would not be counted as correctly, so again no money added to the pot. In the Mol Talk, you know, the talk show which always airs right after WIDM, in which they always invite old candidates, old moles to discuss about the new episode, they had some interesting overviews in that show. Because they had an overview made over all the words that the candidates had to, well, perform, the song that was chosen for that word, by who it was performed, if they made any money and how much with that song, and then also the person who guessed the correct word. And they showed that overview first, and in that overview it was to be seen that Maaike actually behaved like a really good candidate and was responsible for a lot of money added to the pot, because first of all she is a really good singer. That of course led to a lot of money because the candidate also guessed the word correctly. So that means she chose the correct song, she performed it very well, and that adds up to a lot of money. And then she also guessed the correct word for Sophie's song, for Sophie's first song, better said. And Sophie also performed very well, so that also added quite a bit of money into the pot. Which of course gives us as the viewers the impression that Maaike is a really good candidate. But then they also had a second table made in the Mol Talk, and there they added an overview of candidates who suggested incorrect words for the songs, and if those incorrect words were used as answer in the end. And there it showed that Maaike actually was responsible for 3 incorrect answers. So she suggested a couple of wrong words, and then the candidate chose for these words. I can remember, for example, that she suggested Wahrheit as in truth, and the group decided to use that word then, and that was the wrong word, so no money added to the pot for this song. I just wanted to share that with you because I think it's quite interesting that I really had this overview in the Mol talk. And with that, we head to task number 2. I really liked that task. If you watched the Mol Belgium, then you also know that they had some similar tasks like that in the past. And in general, I have to say, I also know a TV show like that, so it's quite fun to do it like that. And there are few things that were a bit weird here, let's say it like that. First of all, I really wonder how Sam did get into Sophie's room, because that is what he's saying. Like, at some point, the candidates are sitting at a table discussing where are the other 3 of us, why are they not here anymore, why have they disappeared, and one of them says like, I tried to call one of them, and then Sam says, yeah, I've also been into Sophie's room. And I'm wondering, like, you all had single rooms with key cards, and actually the key card is supposed to only open the door to your room, so it does not make any sense that Sam could have opened Sophie's room with his key card. So I'm really wondering if he was just simply lying there, or if he really made it into Sophie's room. But then this would give me some weird vibes, like, why is he in Sophie's room without her being there? Like, this is weird, okay? Then the second thing that was really weird here is the question Nora asked Sophie. I mean, I did not get the question at all. If you understood what Nora actually tried to ask her, then please let me know in the comments below, because I really did not understand it, and I absolutely get that Sophie didn't, well, know how to answer that question, because if you do not understand the question, then how should you answer it? So I really think it was not Sophie trying to Mol here, but Nora asked a really weird question, and that is even more confusing because she really asked like, can I be the next one to ask questions? So, and then after that one she did not come up with another, so yeah, that was definitely weird, and I think we could count that as more action. In general, I have to say, I think Nora was behaving a bit weird throughout the whole episode. Like, also by the karaoke tasks, she was not really, well, into it. I get that you probably do not want to sing in a TV show like WIDM if you're not a good singer. I absolutely get that. I'm also not very good at singing. So with knowing that a lot of people will see this TV show, I probably wouldn't be very enthusiastic either, but I have the feeling that all the other candidates who also aren't good singers at least really try to sing, and with Nora I had the feeling she was just saying a few words, and that of course did not really get a lot of money into the pot, which is of course also more action I should have, well, mentioned with task number 1. But well, you got it a bit later. If you watch until here, then that's great, then you have seen it anyways. And there's one more thing we have to talk about in task number 2, and that is the question, did the Mol know which key card would lead to one of the special rooms with the note inside of the room, like with the special task that you would have to sleep somewhere else? And with that, would the Mol want to do that? And would the production team like the Mol to do that? It's a bit similar to the question of last week's video, which was, would the Mol like to be part of the 3rd task? But this time it's a bit different. I can imagine that maybe the Mol wouldn't want to be on the airport, as in that also maybe the production team wouldn't like the Mol to be in that position. But with the other 2, I'm still struggling. Like, my thoughts are, the Mol has just been chosen a few days earlier. As production team, we would probably like to have a few more Mol briefings to give some more information to the Mol, to give some assurance to the Mol. We will come back to that after we have discussed all tasks in this video. And of course, the mole also needs a break in between. Like, you always have to keep in mind that WIDM mole is very exhausting for everybody, and especially for the mole. So having a break and not having an extra task seems pretty good on the one hand, but on the other it would probably be easier for the production team to brief the mole in another hotel where are no other candidates. So I'm still struggling a bit with that. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it. Would the mole like to be one of those liars? Last but not least, in this episode we had a very interesting test. And a very unusual test because there was a combination of a task and a test. And here it was complete chaos. It was a crazy ride, I would say. A few things that were interesting were that some first earned money by opening all those envelopes, but then, and by that of course played money into the pot, but then used 250 euro of that money to gain a joker. So he kinda played money in, but then, well, gave the money away, which of course makes him a bit suspicious. Generally he's very focused on the jokers, and I really have the feeling he's a very focused candidate, but still with that 250 euro less in the pot. Then they also could gain some money by hitting the gong, and not all of the candidates did that. For example, Sophie did not do that, and the move between Rose and Ray was also very weird. And the question is, why did Sophie not do that, for example? Like, she could have easily played some money in the pot by doing that, and she, well, chooses not to do that and turn around and go back to her test. And last but not least, of course, the Rose move, once Sam stood up to put his joker on his test desk, she, well, takes his place in the first row, which of course could have to do with her answer to the question in which row the mole would be sitting at the elimination. So much about the tasks. Let's also have it about some more general hints. This video started with me showing you some beautiful tulips, and this leads us to a flower hint, because throughout the episode, so not only in this one but also in episode number 1 and 2, we got to see some flowers, for example as decoration on the tables. And if you've watched older seasons of WIDM Mol, then you know that from time to time they try to give us some, well, hints in this kind of way. And there's also been one season in which flowers kept reappearing and then were a hint to a person with a name that sounds like a flower. And in this season we have Rose, and her name of course also is a flower name. Then what is also interesting is that we got to see the hand of the mole for the second time now. This time only a finger, but last week we got to see the whole hand. Of course hidden in a glove, but still we can try to interpret that. At least we can try to interpret if it was the hand of a man or a woman. I tend to say it is more like the hand of a woman. And from what I've seen in the community, the majority thinks that as well. But let me know what you think. Is it a man or a woman's hand we got to see there? And last but not least in this video, let's also quickly have it about the mole briefing we got to see in the beginning of this video, of this episode. It seems like the mole is a bit unsure about his current actions, and I think that's pretty normal, especially in episode 2, 3, maybe still 4. You're just getting used to doing all of that, you tried some things, the other candidates are very curious, asking a lot of questions, you probably had some moments in which you did not feel 100% well secure, so I think that's quite normal, but still it's interesting they let us see that. And I'm wondering if that meant that the mole probably was a bit more laid back this time, as in did less risky moling, did not do as much moling as maybe in episode, well, half of episode number 1 and episode number 2. And last but not least about this episode, there had been a spoiler. I'm not sure if you've heard about it already, so just quickly for your information, the new director of WIDM posted the trailer for the episode on his Instagram, but accidentally posted the wrong trailer, as in not the trailer to this week's episode but to episode number 4. And there we could see that there was no Gabriel anymore in the trailer, so a lot of people already thought that Gabriel would be the one who had to leave the game, and it turned out to be correct. So that of course was a bit, unfortunate, but I thought it was not so bad. Like, I heard about it, I knew about it, but I think that can happen. Of course it shouldn't, but I think it wasn't that bad. But let me know in the comments below if you've heard about it. And also, this was everything about this week's episode. So, as always, share your thoughts, your ideas, your hints, everything yet you think that is suspicious in the comments below to help us figure out who the mole is. Also, subscribe to this channel here and follow me on Instagram. And I hope to see you all back next week. Just as little information, next week's video will very likely be online one day later, so on Monday. There definitely will be a Hints and Theories video to episode number 4, but very likely one day later. Just so you know. I hope to see you all back in the next video. Until then, have a wonderful week. Bye!